Hi everyone, and welcome to the Syncretism Society Virtual Academy. And my name is Mehmet. And in today's lesson, we're going to be learning more about looking at the birth chart and learning how to interpret it. Last week, I went through the main things of how the birth chart works and which way the sun rises and set and the four main angles. So what I'll do as well before I get into looking at the aspects, I'll touch up on that briefly. And then what we're going to do is look at something called aspects, and that is how particular angles, like for examples, if planets are directly opposite each other, or if they're 90 degrees away from each other, or 180 degrees, or at the same degree, how all these different aspects create particular energy. Some are harmonious, some are not so harmonious. So what we're going to do is go through each one. I'm going to do that by sharing my screen and going through some slides, and also doing some reading from the book we've been using, Practical Astrology, the Practical Astrologer, should I say. And then, also once I've done that and you guys understand how particular aspects work, then what I want to do is I've got the next part of learning the birth chart ready. So what we're going to do is look at each planet and see the best. There's two rows for each planet. So this top row is the best placement for the planet. So these are the best houses the moon could be in, for example, and the best signs, and these are the worst houses and the worst signs. But what I'm going to do is that will be the next lesson, but the stuff I'm going to teach you today kind of leads onto this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen, and what we'll do is we'll just go over briefly what we did last week, and then I'll do some reading. So bear with me for a second. So, okay. All right, why has it come out like that? Anyway, you guys can still see it. So yeah, this is the birth chart. As you can see, the sun, we explained, rises from the east and sets here in the west. This is midday and this is midnight. So that's just like a little recap of what we done last week. And then moving on, these are what the 12 houses are. I don't know why it's coming out that way. Let me escape for a second. Yep, I'll just do it this way. For some reason, it's coming out different. So yeah, let me go back. So yeah, this is how the birth chart works. So like I said, sun at dawn, sun at noon, sun at dusk, sun at midnight. So the way the houses go is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But the wheel is turning this way and the signs are rising from east and setting in the west. And yeah, also last week we went through what each house means. So if you want to do that again, you can, rather than me going through it again, which I've already done, you can just pause this part and go over what each house means. But what the main thing of what we're going to do today is understanding what these red and blue lines are. So like I mentioned earlier, the red lines are not so good angles and the blue lines are more harmonious angles. And what we're going to do is go through each one and talk a bit about them. So these are what we're going to do. There's loads of aspects here, but I'm just going to concentrate on the major ones, which will be the conjunction, the opposition, the trine, the square, and the sextile. Obviously, if you're learning the basics of astrology. You won't need to know all the others at the moment. So here it says aspects is when relative positions of two planets in the horoscope from a significant angle with each other. They are said to be in aspect with one another. The type and quality of the aspect is determined by the number of degrees between the two planets and is only considered significant if it is within a narrow range of degrees or orb. A list of the aspect used in application is given below. So yeah, like these are the different aspects you can that the planets can make with each other. But like I said, I'm just going to kind of concentrate on the main 5 aspects, which will be the conjunction, opposition, trine, square, and sextile. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to come back to this, because what we're going to do is I'm going to read something from the book to give us a bit of an overview, a bit more in detail of what aspects are. And then I'll share my screen again and we'll go through like the diagrams of what each aspect is. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a chapter, just literally this section here where it's called the aspects. And then I just want to tell you something and think, oh, well, what have you got to back it up with? I always like to read something from a book as well, just to kind of have some backup to what I'm saying to you guys, so you don't think I'm just making it up. So the aspects. An aspect is a precise distance between any 2 points in a horoscope. Almost all aspects measure distances around the ecliptic. Usually aspects are formed between 2 planets, although aspects between any one planet and the angles ascendant, descendant, and MC and IC are also considered. The aspects are used to establish how planets combine to stimulate and moderate each other's influences. The aspects are divided into 2 categories, major and minor, and harmonious or tense. Generally, major aspects are much more powerful than the minor, but there are certain astrologers who place a greater than usual emphasis on the minor aspects. So that's like what I was talking about, how there was a long list of aspects, but the major aspects are the 5 that I'm going to concentrate on. Aspects are formed by a division of a circle of 360 degrees by certain numbers and may be understood through the laws of numerology. The division of a circle by 3, 6, and 12 is harmonious and flowing, while the division by 2, 4, and 8 is rigid, structured, and difficult. Harmonious aspects are also known as good, easy, positive, soft, benefic, and tense aspects are also known as bad, difficult, negative, hard, or malefic. The tense aspects cause friction between the planets involved. This friction brings difficulties and problems, which may be psychological, environmental, or a combination of the 2. In coping with the problems, many people experience failure, but some will be driven to overcome their difficulties and in the process develop their astrological potential. This is why I always say it's really good to know your birth chart, because you can see where you have strengths and weaknesses, and rather than just saying, oh, I'm this way because of my birth chart, you can look at your weaknesses and improve on it. Like, so for example, in the case of my birth chart, I don't have a lot of earth placements. So that means I need to work on my earth element and stuff in relation to the earth and being more grounded. So moving on, just this last little bit, and then I'll get back into the slides. The harmonious aspects bring easy relationship between the planets involved. They provide a helpful environment for innate abilities which the individual may take for granted but fail to develop fully. Each type of aspect, therefore, has 2 faces. The tense aspects bring in difficulties which can result in great achievement, while the harmonious aspects bring in easy conditions which can lead to wasted opportunities. So again, that's interesting there. Just What that's saying is just because you have a weak aspect, it don't necessarily mean it will be negative. It might be hard at first, but once you work through it, it will be an achievement. Whereas if things come easy to you, it's saying that because they're so easy, it comes so easy to you, you might be lazy or misuse it. So again, it just goes to show that just bad aspects are not always necessarily bad. They're bad in angle, but in the long run, it's like a lesson or achievement that you have to strive towards. So I'll read the final paragraph here. It is preferable to have a balance of tense and harmonious aspects. Individuals with only harmonious aspects may have plenty of potential, but no drive to develop it, while those with only tense aspects may lack the faith and optimism to overcome difficulties. There are 9 aspects in common use. The 5 major aspects: conjunction, opposition, trine, square, sextile, and the 4 minor aspects: the semi-sextile, semi-square, quincunx, which is also known as the inconjunct. So yeah, that was just like a brief summary of aspects and how they can be beneficial and detrimental. So what I'm going to now do is share my screen again, and we're going to read through a little description of each aspect, and then I'm going to show you a diagram of where you could find that within a chart. So I'm just going to share my screen again. Bear with me for a moment. So share screen, share. So let me just make this bigger. So yeah, we read that. So a conjunction. The conjunction or 0 degrees implies that planets, whether transiting or natal, occupy approximately the same position in the chart. This is considered to be a strongest blend of energies represented by 2 planets. So yeah, so a conjunction would be, for example, if this is Mars and Venus, and they're in the same degree of a sign. So what this does, it creates like a unique blend because they're in the exact same position. So this is what a conjunction is. So if you have a planet, I have quite a lot of conjunctions in my chart. I have 4 conjunctions in the sign of Sagittarius. So I have my Mercury and Uranus on 8 degrees in Sagittarius, and then I have my Jupiter and South Node in 16 degrees of Sagittarius. So that's what you would call a conjunction, when 2 exact planets are on the same degree in a sign. So moving on, the next aspect is called the sextile, or 60 degrees, represents 1/6 of a circle, and this is a flowing alignment. The planetary energies flow together, open into new possibilities and new connections. So as you can see, you've got Venus here and Mars here. This straight line, there's 60 degrees, which is 2 signs between them. So this is the line that we're concentrating on here in the chart, this line here. So this is another harmonious aspect, which is at 60 degrees. The next major aspect is a square. The square on 90 degrees is considered a dynamic or difficult aspect. The planetary energies or conflict, internal and creative tensions bring rich rewards through effort over time, which is what the book was saying as well. If you have like a bad aspect over time, it will be a lesson you learn. And the square, which is a 90-degree angle, is considered a bad aspect. And I'll explain why now, actually, because if 2 planets are squaring each other, they will ultimately be of the same modality, because obviously you can see in this in this chart here, or in this diagram here, you have Venus in Aquarius, which is a fixed sign, and then you have Mars in Scorpio, which is also a fixed sign. So these two, this angle here is a square, it's 90 degrees, which is 3 signs from each other. So the reason why this is also seen as a bad aspect is because they're both fixed in their energy. So it's 2 similar energies. So it's like too much fixed energy. So you could have it with, for example, if Sagittarius was squaring, if you had a planet in Sagittarius, and then you had a planet in Aries, that would also be a square. So, no, sorry, my bad. If you had a planet in Capricorn, and then you had a planet in Aries, this line here would also be a square because they're 90 degrees away from each other, and they're both cardinal signs. So they both want to be the leader, if that makes sense, the cardinal energy. So they're kind of against each other. Whereas if you have a fixed and a cardinal, it's more harmonious because they're different types of energy. So they create a unique energy. Whereas where you have 2 mutable signs or 2 cardinal signs or 2 fixed signs, it's too much of the same energy in that aspect, basically. So moving on, the opposition or another major aspect, the opposition or 180 degrees reflects planets on the opposite points of the zodiac, or approximately 180 degrees apart. This is considered a dynamic or difficult aspect. The planetary energies are polarized. Outer events stimulate their interaction. Integration is the challenge. So yeah, this is what you would call an opposition, where you have 2 signs directly opposite each other. And because of this, an opposition is like a battle, or yeah, it's like the 2 planets are not letting one another express themselves because their energies are kind of head on with each other in a very basic sense. Obviously, you can read a lot more about the angles and why they're bad, but obviously we don't want to go too deep. The whole point of this is just to give you guys the keys to understand the basics of what an opposition is, what a sextile is, what a square is, what a conjunction is, and what a trine is. And then once you can learn them, you can start looking at the other minor aspects. So the last major aspect we're going to concentrate on is the trine, or 120 degrees, reflects planets in harmonious alignment with each other. This is considered flowing or relatively easy to handle. The planetary energies flow smoothly. The connection is beneficial. So usually when there is a trine, it's usually 3 signs of the same element. So in this example, in this diagram, you can see you have Mars in Sagittarius, Venus in Aries, and then you could have, for example, another planet here in Leo. This would be signs in all of the same element, which would be, because obviously you have 3 signs for each element. So for fire, you have here, as you can see, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. For water, it would be Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. For air, it would be Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra, for example. So if you had 3 planets in 3 of the same elements, that creates a trine, which is a harmonious angle. So again, this is just a chart to go over what I've just said. So again, we have the harmonious aspects, which are trines and sextiles. Let me just move this out of the way so you can see it instead of seeing my head. So yeah, so harmonious aspects, you have a trine, which is 120 degrees, which creates a triangle. And then you have a sextile, which is two planets 60 degrees away from each other. These are the harmonious tools. So for the trine, the psychological meaning is tuning, comfort, developing, energy flowing, innate ability, slow, constant action. And with the sextile, it's complementary, energy exchange, creation, immediate productive reaction. So the challenge is the opposition, which is the 180 degrees, and the square is 90 degrees. So with opposition, you get contrast, effort, oppression, stress, passional attraction, slow, constant action. And with squares, you get laceration, tension, action, reaction, emotive, earthquake, and I can't say that word, excuse me. Yeah, sorry, I can't read that word. And then the neutral aspect is the conjunction, which the psychological meaning is union, concentration, energies, fusion, binding, and action. So let me just move on. Escape so we can see this like this. So yeah, and so yeah, that's the basics of how to look at the aspects. So for example, if you had a planet in Aries, for say, and then you had a planet in Libra, that would be an opposition. If you had a planet in Aries and then a planet in Gemini, that would be a sextile. If you had a planet in Aries and then a planet in Cancer, that creates a right angle because they're 90 degrees away from each other. So that would be a square. So then if you had a planet, three planets in Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo, that would then create a triangle, which would be a trine, which is a harmonious angle. So now we've learned about the basics of how to look at a chart, what each sign means, how the chart works. What I want to now do in the next part of this series is look at how when planets are in particular houses or signs, where they're good, where they're in dignified and in exaltation, and where they're in detriment and fault. So, for example, I'll bring my board up. Let me stop sharing my screen for a second. So, yeah, like I've done on my board, I've written down all the planets, and I've done two rows for each other, like I showed you before. So the top row with a tick is when the moon is in the second house and the fourth house, or in the signs of Taurus and Cancer, they're harmonic, they're good, it's good. But when it's in either the 8th or 10th house, or Scorpio and Capricorn, it's not so good. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to get into that in more detail in the next coming lesson. So what we're going to probably do is, for each video, I'll go through 3 planets. So the first one we'll do the moon, sun, and Mercury, and their strong and weak placements in the chart. And every week we'll go through 3 of them and discuss why they're good in particular signs, or why they're weak in particular signs, or why they're good in particular houses and not so good in other houses. So like I always say, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions to ask, or I haven't made anything clear, you can always message me via the inbox on the Virtual Academy. And also, the Syncretism Society now has a services section where if you would like a one-on-one with me to ask me more questions, or for me to like teach you particular things, you can go to the services sections and try and book a reading with me if you like. If not, you can just continue watching the lessons. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and I'll catch you guys soon. Peace, love, and blessings. I'm out.